And we are live. Welcome everybody. I'm James, Managing Director at JP Fire and Security Systems Limited. And here I've got Matthew Jones with us.
Hiya.
So today we're going to be looking a little more around the topic of the new standards regarding evacuation alert system. So we're going to be looking at the new standard BS8629. So this standard is regarding evacuation alert systems for tower blocks. So what we're going to do now is we're going to run through the PowerPoint we've got here. So first question is, what is BS8629? Well, BS8629 is the code of practice for the design, installation, commissioning and maintenance of evacuation alert systems for use by fire rescue services in buildings containing flats. So I know this is going to be quite the straight to the point episode, and I can tell you that some of the topics within this are, unfortunately, it's going to be surrounding things that have happened in the past. So
are we talking like Grenfell and stuff?
Yes.
That sort of thing.
So the main premise of this video will be coming back to Grenfell, which is very popular now for the case that, unfortunately, a lot of high-rise buildings have what we call a stay-put plan in place. So
I don't think that works, to be honest.
A stay-put plan, it can work at times, but in the case of Grenfell, we could see stay-put was breaking down, unfortunately. And this is really what forced the drafting of BS8629. So BS8629 brought in some new equipment, and this is what we're going to go on to here. They were called, the new equipment is mostly known as an EC, which the main question then is, what is an EC? Well, an EC is short for evacuation alert control and indicating equipment. So the EC plays pretty crucial role in protecting people within tower blocks in the case that stay-put breaks down. So the EC is housed in a high security cabinet. So it's vandal-proof, but is always accessible to the fire service. So the EC is a system of last resort, meaning that it is only used in situations where evidently stay-put is breaking down and they need to evacuate the resident. So how the evacuate alert system works is so CTEX Evac Alert utilizes the ZFP fire panel at the core of the actual Evac Alert. So it can come with customizable toggle switch arrays, which can go up to 40 floors. So each floor has its own toggle switch. On a normal fire alarm system, you would have your detector, and when the system activates, it would evacuate the entire building. Now, these systems here are not alarm systems. They do not have any manual call points or detectors fitted, hence the name alert.
No detectors?
No. So
we can't have a system with no detectors, can we?
This system here is a system of last resort. So this is this is really a final ditch effort at the system. So you could have something which we'll come on to in a bit on the lines of Hush Pro. We'll explain more about that in a little bit because this episode in the title, as you can see, also incorporates BS5839 Part 6. So we'll be having a look at that. But this system here is separate to the main fire alarm system. So you just have an individual sounder, and outside each flat you would have a flat interface module. So this module would act as a short circuit isolator and a controller for the sounders, and these would wire into your fault tolerant wiring loop. So BS8629 states that the number of fault-tolerant wiring loops is 1 for up to 4 stories, 2 for up to 10 stories, and 3 for anything taller. So
Sorry, what was that? Can you run that by me again? I didn't quite pick that last bit up. Something about stories.
Yeah, so BS8629 states that the number of fault-tolerant wiring loops is 1 for up to 4 stories, 2 for up to 10 stories, and 3 for anything taller. So these are similar to your normal addressable loop, but the devices on the Avac Alert system do not directly wire onto the system as such. They go through a flat interface module, so you can either have a one-way flat interface module that would sit outside each flat, or you can have a 4 to 8-way flat interface, which protects against short circuit faults as the fire spreads.
Isn't that what short circuit isolators are for? Or is that something different?
Yes, so it incorporates a short circuit isolator into the control module, which can protect the system and keep it operational for the longest periods of time throughout a fire. So the system can be connected to your standard audio-visual sounders, just normal sounders, or a vibrating pillar pad.
Can they be connected?
So when it comes to, say, for instance, the actual cabinet, we can see in the top left corner, we can see the actual cabinet. So the cabinet is of a substantial size, and if you need more than 40 floors, you can network more than one of these cabinets. And the cabinets are made in cooperation with Gerda, which specialize in fire-rated door sets. So when it comes to the actual implications of how the system is used, there is a secure key switch, which, sorry, not a key switch, just a key lock on the side of the unit, which the keys are held by the fire service currently. So the fire service can come up to any of these cabinets because it's a universal key, which is copy protected. They can put the key in, open the door, and activate the toggle switches inside. And the cabinets are sturdy and secure enough that they will withstand attack from anybody trying to sabotage the equipment. So, on the topic of Grenfell, we can see in the thing with Grenfell, we could see there was a lot wrong with how Grenfell had been set out with its fire safety.
Yeah, if you want me to say anything about it, I know quite a lot. And not only that, we've got Tower Hamlets as well.
Do you know what? I'll leave that one to you then. I'll let you explain.
Well, I didn't mean entirely. I mean, all I know of Grenfell Tower is, well, it only relied on separate acres in each flat, nothing else. That was obviously not good enough, and obviously the cladding on the outside of the slab was obviously what caused it. If anything, cheap cladding that was as per some sort of refurbishment that they had spent money on.
Yes, so pretty much what we'll come on to in a bit is a new system which has come around as well, which kind of incorporates with that what you just said there. It had just standalone smoke detectors, which
they simply won't do at all. They're not good enough for anything.
Yeah, in the case of a tower block, it's not. If
they weren't in the spotlight so much, they wouldn't have thought about using them, really. That's why cheap options, cheap smoke detectors and cheap cladding shouldn't be an option.
Yeah, so we could see a lot wrong with that building, but we're going to focus on the fire safety side with the actual fire alarm system. And as mentioned with that, it was spot smoke detectors, which are not really a good option in most places bigger than a house, really, because the alarms will only let the flat residents know, which, I mean, in a case of a stay put plan, that works, but as well, it doesn't allow any form of alert for any other residents, which in that case isn't good, because there is no way to evacuate the other residents because they're told to stay put. And as we saw in Grenfell, the fire service had to go knocking on each door, telling people to evacuate, which realistically is it's a danger to the people
We
inside.
saw loads of videos of Grenfell, didn't we? We
Yeah,
saw bits of the cheap cladding falling down onto them when they were trying to get up to the, different
it's
floors.
it's a tragic event that happened,
I'd
and
say it's just an absolute disgrace. And what I should point out is Grenfell Tower isn't the only one.
no, I
I've
mean
I've seen it myself with my own eyes. I mean,
yes,
I should know. I go to London all the time.
it's unfortunate to see, but it's not just in this market. We see it all the time out in the commercial field, where a company will quote cheap, but they will cut corners, and that is unfortunately what it really is a big problem for a lot of sites, is that they've chose a contractor which has done it on the cheap, but unfortunately some of these contractors may not be properly approved to fit this equipment, and unfortunately it does lead to some issues with installation quality. So we can see, if we saw, say for instance, I've seen it before in, I think it was, I mean, I see it all the time. If you look on online, you'll see stuff that's been posted by engineers, and some of the equipment which is fitted out in the field is shocking, because a lot of the time it's rushed installs which have not properly been tested for the compliances. They've, they've not been properly regulated as such by anybody. So these companies are just getting away with shocking installs, and this is what causes incidents like Grenfell, is the carelessness of some installers.
Yeah, well, Grenfell didn't really have much to begin with, so
No. And I mean, I think Grenfell would have turned out much differently even if it had something simple, like even if it was just some form of conventional fire alarm system, which
yeah, that
even
would
then,
work a lot better, really.
it would work a lot better, because it would alert everybody in the building to what's going on.
Well,
And
exactly.
I would say probably, though, the best option for any form of tower block would be voice alarm, even if
Well,
it was
yeah.
conventional, something like the fire criers. The fire criers can be networked into a fire crier control panel, and that can have a program message to say this, something like fire alert, stay put until advised. And then each floor can be wired with the fire criers into their own panel for each floor, and each floor then could be activated to say, like, evacuate now and stuff like that. So I mean, even that could help. And this is where now I'm going to come on to our next bit now, which is on BS5839 part 6, and
What are these? They look kind of sort of
specific
promising, if I'm honest.
specifically grade C.
Mm. Well, they certainly
So
look a lot better than anything else you get.
So what we're going to go on to here is, obviously, what is BS5839 Part 6 in general? So BS5839 Part 6 is the code of practice for the design, installation, commissioning, and maintenance of fire detection and fire alarm systems in domestic properties. So that can domestic properties could be HMOs. So that would be HMOs, flats, apartment blocks, houses. Anything like that would be anything that's domestic housing properties would be BS5839 Part 6. So for BS5839 Part 6, we have grade D, which would be
We
stuff
don't
like
talk grade D. It's no good.
grade D would be something suitable for houses and small HMOs.
Single rooms, I guess.
And then what we're going to come on to now is a grade C system. So a grade C system is a system with separate detectors and sounders that are mains powered with a backup power supply and central control equipment. So in the case of Hush Active by CTEC, that is a grade C system for residential applications. The system is standalone and utilizes CTEC.
Well, it's not standalone if it's interconnectedly wired like a conventional farm system, is it?
It would still be classed as a standalone system.
Yeah, but when I think of standalone, I think of crap battery power detectors like
something like Fire Angel or ACO's. Is it the 600 series?
600. Well, no.
I think it's ACO's 600 series is the battery powered range.
They're not supposed to make them anymore, are they?
But
they do. I know they do. So it's not our problem. It's their problem. The lobbyists like ACO.
Well, let's not get it too hostile towards companies, but I mean, for when it comes to EI electronics, I think another thing which has come around for grade D nowadays is that 9-volt battery detectors are not really are slowly getting phased out at this point.
Yeah, but some landlords are stupid. They'll let the houses retain them.
And
even actual electricians can fight between battery powered and grade D.
They now most detectors now come with a better option, which is a 10-year sealed life battery pack, which
that is not good enough.
A better option because it means that the homeowner can't just remove the batteries out the detector, meaning that realistically they will always have protection and it will encourage them not to take down the detectors.
Yeah, but you're better off with we deserve a bit better than that, don't you think? We're better off a bit more
for houses it's not really worth. I think only until it reaches a certain size of a house. So if it's something like maybe a 6 or 7 bedroom 3-story house, then I would go in for a grade C system, because that's at the point then where realistically that
I don't know if a small place was no longer classed as a house, but it once was a house, it would be required to have a 2-zone panel inside it instead.
Yes.
So
if it was a commercial,
just stick to that sort of standard.
If it was a commercial application, then yes, it would have to
I'd say that's where grade C comes in.
That would have
grade C is compliant for both of those things, then, isn't
it? No. So a BS5839 Part 6 grade C system is for residential applications. So anything that's not residential, so even if it is a house converted to a shop, at that point you would want to change it out for a BS5839 Part 1 system.
I still think it should be down to the overall size of the building and not what they actually class it as.
Well, I mean...
You put it this way, at least CTEC Hush Active can have its panels replaced without replacing any of the devices.
Yes. So, we're going to move on from that now to Hush Pro. So Hush Pro, again, is a BS5839 Part 6 Grade C system. But in this case, it is a system for residential applications, but it utilizes CTEC's cast addressable fire detector and sounder/visual alarm devices. And it can be standalone, but also can be networked into a communal fire system. And this is what we would start to see in something like a tower block. So why Hush Pro? Well, Hush Pro is an outstanding option for flats, apartments, and tower block situations where, yeah, so stuff like that. Houses, so houses like tower blocks and apartments and flats, that would be more the application for Hush Pro. Hush Pro can be networked into a communal fire system utilizing a flat interface module. So if an alarm triggers, for example, the hallway smoke detector, the system will activate in fire level 1. So the sounders will sound in the alert tone, also known as the pulsed tone.
Hang on. Are we saying that when a Hush Pro system activates, the whole system goes into alert tone?
No. So only in that apartment would the sounders sound only in that apartment. And pretty much...
Well, that's something that works then.
It would sound...
That would work really well.
It would sound in it would sound in alerts for fire level 1. Now, it would not be reported off-site or at the fire panel, but it would be logged at the communal fire panel. And the hush button will sound its internal buzzer and will show up the fire LED, and you can silence that by pressing hush. Now, say for instance, then if another detector triggers, so the kitchen heat detector triggers, the system will then go into fire level 2. This will sound the evacuate tone on the sounders in the flat and will flag up at the communal fire panel and off-site. The condition can't be silenced at the hush button. And then it can... Now, the thing is with Hush Pro, and with that said, there are some interesting things surrounding that. If you network that into something like the ZFP fire alarm panel, then you can do what we call phased evacuation, where the system can then run through a cause and effect sequence with a time delay. So it could evacuate, say a fire level 2 occurs on floor 6 in... so say floor 6 has got 5 flats. Say flat 3 has a fire level 2 condition occur. It could then evacuate the 2 flats opposite and surrounding that, or it could evacuate all the flats on floor 6. And then after a set time delay, it could evacuate, say this is an 8-story apartment block, it could then evacuate floor 7 and then evacuate floor 8 as well. And then at the ZFP, you can have key switch modules, a bit like I mentioned with the evac alert control panel, but these will be on the main fire system, and these key switches can sound the sounders in each of the apartments so not each of the apartments, each of the floors. Or one thing which can be done as well is just an evacuate all command, where if it gets to a point where it is necessary, everybody can be evacuated. But that isn't really a recommended option in most situations. But this ties in with the evac alert system. So, say for instance, this system here, again, say for instance, you don't have a lot of that cause and effect stuff programmed, and it is just a bare bones system where you've got the hush system in each apartment. If the fire service comes along and deems it necessary for an evacuation on some of the floor, they can then go to the evac alert control panel, or the EC, as it's also known, and they can then flick the respective toggle switches for that floor. So I think when it comes to hush, it's definitely a much better option than what we've got on the market at the moment.
Well, if the following other things were not on the market, we'd be saved and just use hush and stuff like that.
Yeah. So, I mean...
Besides, hush is easily much better to work with in any place, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, the idea of Hush Pro for apartments is really good.
Yeah. And this is where I'd say we can see a lot of improvement in the industry over the years with some of the equipment that has been released, such as Hush. And I mean, CTEC isn't the only manufacturer to do something like Hush.
About FireSafe, didn't they do their version of Hush Active as well?
FireSafe just rebrands a lot of CTEC equipment, so that is just CTEC. So you can get this system. You can get a similar system from Advanced Electronics. They do their alarm calm. But I think Advanced Electronics alarm calm is quite different to Hush, and it's not quite the same as Hush, and it's not quite as expandable.
What is it like?
It's so alarm calm is just a small single gang button, pretty much, which just says on the front of it, it says something like silence. You press that and it silences it in the flat. It doesn't really have as much functionality as the Hush Active or the Hush Pro, and no other manufacturer on the market currently does something like Hush Active.
Well, we need more manufacturers to do panels like that, really.
I think
that's the best one for it.
I mean,
for both houses and especially flats.
I mean, Advanced Electronics do their own version of an EC, which is the evac alert control and indicating equipment panel. So they do their own version of the evac alert panel. It looks identical in the casing wise, because it does use the same girder chassis that the CTEC panel uses, as that is an industry standard recognized chassis for the evac alert systems now. I mean, CTEC do their own version in their own case. So they do an evac alert in a CTEC case instead, which is similar to the ZFP case in its build design. And the evac alert, it is not a system that would be used often. It is definitely a system of last resort. Pretty much meaning that if all else fails, that system will be there to evacuate the building if really necessary. So I think about that really sums up BS8629 and BS5839 Part 6 for Grade C fire alarm.
I thought BS5839 only supported, well, Grade D and all that stuff.
So BS5839 is a wide range of standards. You've also got so you've got BS5839 Part 1.
Maybe?
You've got BS5839 Part 1 for your commercial fire equipment, and then there's other standards within BS5839 as well, which are all related within the fire equipment installation, commissioning, and maintenance. So these small things relate to some of the practices, codes and practices we have to follow as installers. This can be simple as how we install a call point, how high we have to mount it off the floor. How
Yeah, well, I think call points should be optional for the following places.
how we space detectors apart, equipment systems like that. I think it's all under that umbrella of BS5839, and I mean there's plenty to be learnt up on, and I mean these are all standards that us as engineers have to follow. Manufacturers as well, they have their own standards. So if you know, for to name a few, we've got EN54 Part 2 and 4. You'll be familiar with those. So they're some of the new standards for fire panels and the power supplies in the fire panel. And you've also got stuff like EN54 Part 25 now, which is for wireless fire alarm systems. So again, there's quite a few things manufacturers have to follow as well, and there's quite a few things us as engineers have to follow. So there's some things like how far a detector has to be placed from a source of ventilation, how far apart we space detectors, and even stuff like how we clip up cables, and even the stuff we clip up the cables with. It's all around that sort of branch, really. And it's not, I mean, it's not only a fraction of this relates to just that domestic market and the evac alert systems. I think one thing we can say, though, is that the fire industry is evolving rapidly as the years go on. We've seen a rise in really outstanding technology, like say, for instance, we've seen only this year CTEC releasing the Cast Pro devices. We've seen.
We just couldn't get systems like this any sooner, though, could we? We could have done with it like 20 years ago, you know.
Yeah, I mean, we've
Grade C standards.
We've seen some really interesting stuff come around with stuff like. Say, for instance, we've seen Apollo Soteria come about with the Soteria dimension detectors, if you're familiar with those.
Yeah, they're extremely flush.
Really interesting detectors because they are a chamberless detector as such. Those devices, the detector chambers, are more. I think the chambers are not really at a chamber as such.
I thought the Soteria dimension was just, I don't know, like a camera sensor kind of thing.
Yeah, it works like a normal optical detector. It's just with the infrared. With the infrared, but it's just how it does it.
Like a beam detector, in fact, something like that.
Yes, it's kind of. I mean, beam detectors have been around for probably about 30 years now.
Have they? What's the oldest one you know about?
Thorn.
Four.
Yeah,
Oh,
Thorn did a beam detector.
I forgot about that one. I thought it was just
Yeah.
an infrared type sensor.
Yeah, no, you've got I mean you've got infrared flame detectors, which they see the infrared light emitted by fire. So they're quite interesting bits of kit. They are really specialist application. We've seen intrinsically safe devices. So we've seen intrinsically safe in devices for hazardous areas. We've seen even weatherproof devices um, for more outdoor applications or applications where they would be subjected to more harsh conditions, like somewhere like a swimming pool.
Sometimes I don't see weatherproof devices in that area.
That is a worrying scene because if
However, they are not entirely near it, but I think still the overall environment might affect it slightly as well.
yeah, I'd say in
I think a Roshni will be fine, but a
yeah,
Gen
because
5150,
they're
I
weatherproof in
don't know.
general. But I mean, we see some questionable sites, to say the least, don't we?
Yeah,
We
I
see
see
some.
loads and loads of questionable sites.
I mean, I've seen some quite funny ones, and I've even seen some just downright strange ones. I mean, if you
I
look
mean,
at,
I can show you some things on the website if you want.
yeah, feel free to show some interesting sites you've seen. I'll,
Well, I think this is also where the whole apartments subject comes in as well.
oh,
You know,
cool, yeah,
the
yeah,
joke.
yeah,
You know,
because
we're talking like 15 different buildings of tower hamlets. I mean, I don't think you want to know how many of them do not have anything at all.
it's a worrying reality to say the least. And this is why I think BS8629, the drafting of that was a very, very big thing.
I'm not sure is that supposed to work.
Let me add you to stage. There we are.
Yeah, we've got a particularly worrying section in between here. I mean, this is kind of all they have in these two sounders. That panel is not even powered on.
Oh no.
I mean, it's bad enough as it is, but the panel's not even powered on.
Is that a
But
Zyton? Is that a Zyton conventional heat detector there?
where? Just this one?
Oh
Or
yeah.
that?
No, the yeah,
No,
like
this is just a standard
oh
optical.
that that's a is that on a different system that?
Yeah, that's a hotel, which is probably at least as big as all of these other apartments.
I think on a hotel, that's a different scenario entirely.
Yeah, but even still, it's the same size of building and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, even I think even as simple as a conventional system could drastically change the outcome of a potential fire because alert it will alert the
These
residents.
people are more responsive to a normal firing system, even a manual one.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, that's why they
it,
could be eliminated. No one's responsive to those. They just respond to shut the damn thing up, sort of thing. I mean, you get it.
it is
They're not
unfortunate.
taken seriously.
It is
So
unfortunate,
that's why
but
the regulations need to change. That's why
they
they
are
can be off the
they
market.
they are better than nothing. And I mean, again, in residential scenario, they work perfectly in a home, but in somewhere or Y05. Sorry, I
Well,
got distracted by that Y05 there.
mm,
Uh,
anyways,
but
yeah,
yeah,
on this day, we went to like 15 different tower blocks, and this is what I found in like less than a quarter of them. just these two, all that was found in one of them. This was the only one out of those 15 that had a full firing system. And it was probably the biggest tower block of the lot. I'm not sure that one really counts. All the others just had nothing.
It is a terrifying reality about the safety of tower blocks.
I'd say only 3 of those 15 ones actually had anything at all.
And in all fairness, it does not surprise me, because it
does surprise me. It's just an absolute joke, really.
These
Grenfell's how as it was surprised me.
These tower blocks are just
how can they be that stupid? How can a place as big as a shopping centre not have anything at all?
Yeah, it's really a terrifying.
When it comes to these regulations, I'm pinning it entirely on ACO, the lobbyists, the ones that wanted these regulations to go forward.
ACO ACO has got the place on the market, and I think it's not ACO's fault as such.
Well, they've exposed themselves too much. They're too advertised. But sure, it's the people that choose them. Don't have any old ones.
It's their problem, because they.
But then, if only Hush Pro existed and ACO didn't, then even the people who didn't have much common sense would be able to do the right thing, wouldn't they? It'd be a lot easier.
Well, it's an unfortunate and chilling reality, really, that installers they go for, a lot of the time, the cheapest option they can get, so they can quote.
Exactly. That's why they shouldn't be an option.
Well, the thing is, they should be an option just for there should be heavier training and regulation for these installers.
Yeah, well, I still think CTEC Hush Active would be better for a small house. Something simple like Hush Active control panel, maybe a single detector and sounder and another single separate heat detector for the kitchen.
I don't think realistically in a house environment it's the greatest option. I'd say only if it's a larger house, but in a smaller domestic property.
What about a house with a garage? That would make more sense now, wouldn't it? Because you'd need a heat sector in there as well, wouldn't you?
Yes, so that's why I'd say, I mean, ACO, we've got the 3000 series, which is mains powered with a 10-year life battery backup in it.
Yeah, I don't like the sound of that at all.
You've got, and that can be interlinked, obviously, like most systems, they can be interlinked with each other. So you can also use the ACO radio link or the hardwired control panels, which
yeah, but no one's ever used those before, have they?
Well, actually, I've seen them quite a couple. I've never
seen anyone use them.
I see them quite often. In all fairness, it's just a lot of
whatever the case is, for me, anywhere, whether it's a house or anything large, ACO isn't an option.
I'd say in a larger house environment, that's when I would start to really see the implications for it.
I guess it depends on what kind of house it is, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean,
but I'd say a house like mine, I think, we can't rely on a dead ionisation smoke detector, can we?
No. And in all fairness,
Hush Active would be better than that, wouldn't it? Especially if we need a few more detectors.
In all fairness, ionizations are very, very badly misused.
ACO still make them.
Yes, because, I mean,
that's what the problem is.
They have, well, no, it's not a problem because they have their locations. So, say for instance, in let's say my house right now, in the hall and the landing, we would put an optical or even a multi-sensor, even better. So an optical detector in the hall and landing areas, and in the attic. Now, for the kitchen, we'd have a heat detector, and for the living room, that's where we'd put an ionization detector, and in all the bedrooms.
Yeah, but if you're using ACO, don't all of those sectors have a built-in sounder, which they probably shouldn't have? Well,
all of them.
They should have an optional sounder, really. So I think even for a larger house like this, only one sounder is required.
I think realistically, it gives even coverage really for all the sounds. So it's, and I mean with ACO,
Also, what about the other installs I've seen with ACO when they put like a heat sector in one place and a carbon monoxide sector right next to it, both of which have built-in sounders? That's just a bit overkill, don't you think?
So that's why at this point we usually know.
Or maybe if it were, you know, a heat sector in one place and optical right next to it, that sort of thing.
Oh god, that's weird. But
I mean, exactly. That's where Hush Active comes in, because you could just use standard detectors and put somewhere else.
I mean, now with ACO, a good thing which I like, which has come around, which I do use nowadays, is the heat detector / CO combined detector, which in a kitchen environment usually is where your boiler's fitted, so even your cooker's fitted, so that saves on having to fit.
Aren't CTEC doing something like that as well
now? Yes. So you're thinking of
we need something like that.
You're thinking of Casper.
Can we get like a CTEC carbon monoxide to put on a Hush Active system? That's what we need.
I don't think they do a conventional carbon monoxide. I think they just do heat detector, multi-sensor, and smoke detector.
Yeah, well, we're going to need it at some point.
Well, I mean...
And another thing, why should each individual sector have a separate battery in all the sectors? What is it, a wireless system?
So pretty much these detectors are mains powered, and then they're interlinked via a linking wire.
It seems a little pointless. It's like it's not radio interlinked at all.
Well, no, that would be radio link. So radio link, you would have the either a mains powered detector, but if you can't get a link wire to some of the other detectors, that's where radio link comes in, because you can have the standalone battery detector radio linked into the mains powered detector, and then you can have the radio link controller. We can also get radio link call points as well, which they can come in handy in some applications, but I don't think realistically they're used for many applications. The same for the radio link, what they call it a yodel alarm. It used to be, but now they're actually they're now E2S sounders. They're E2S alert alarms.
That's what was the mistake on that first video I did of an E2S sounder.
Yeah,
it's all ACO's.
Because ACO they used to supply YA30s, but YA30s evidently now MoFlash has taken over, are very expensive. And realistically, I mean, this is a YO3 RF2, but they're the same.
Expensive.
I mean, who knows why they're so expensive, but they just are.
Well, I don't know, I'd say it's like, what do you call it, those sellers of marine equipment that sell usually for that much.
I mean, for your general fire system, the most you really have on it is you've got your standard manual call points. Your standard manual call points.
Yeah, I'd say call points are not entirely needed for any form of houses.
Residential, no.
But they could be optional in terms of. I mean, it wouldn't matter if anyone still had them, would they?
No. So this is another thing which I'm bringing in at this point now, which I've not really mentioned it in the past, but I think it's probably best to mention it, is that I do not agree with sites still having systems utilizing something like these old non-compliant break glass stylings. So
Really,
that's
because I would
why
use this with white glasses,
that's why
except
I
for using
that's why I recommend, if your system's got the black or the clear glasses, change the glasses out to
I think the
something like
white ones are a bit boring.
the new white design. It may be boring, but when it comes to life safety, it's crucial. And
Well,
this,
that's older generation will probably know more about it now, won't they? We
well,
can
I
see
mean,
a cool point, can't we?
when it comes to system, you've got your main things there, which are
I'm pretty sure for you the white glass may have came first, but for me the black glass came first.
well,
And
yeah.
so
I mean,
that's what we used to.
obviously now compliances are changing heavily, and when it comes to compliances, we've now got, bloody hell, this background really does like covering up anything I'm trying to show. These old clear glasses, it can be kind of hard to read what they say on them, and all that text, if you're not
Yeah, but you can still
multilingual.
press it. You'd still identify it as a cool point.
Not everybody knows, though, how to press it, whereas something like this here, with just a simple arrow design and the dot, that really just symbolizes that when to activate the fire alarm, you just give it a firm press there, it breaks the glass. Now, even then, I mean, glass itself is something that I don't really say I would actually kind of associate with on fire systems nowadays. I'd
Well, we do have resemblance.
I'd much more change it to.
I'd rather stick with a cool point instead of the optional resettable elements. So
I'd
like
ra-
the old style KC, the new style KC,
yeah,
Fullions, which
I'd
aren't as good as those.
I'd much rather stick with something that's resettable, because when it comes to something like these old World Series call points, you didn't really have the option for until very late on in the production of these. Then they made a resettable element for them. But I think glass in itself, it's a bit of a danger to the engineers for cutting themselves if it's been pressed.
Really,
And then,
because I've never cut myself to glass.
well, when it's been smashed, you can get glass in your fingers and stuff like that, and it's just all round not a great
I don't
thing.
know, you probably think of the 1102, which I think that's something to
Oh
worry
yeah,
about.
that smashes glass all over the floor. But no, I wasn't
Exactly.
on about that call point. Um, so I think when it comes to residential, we don't really see call points as such, but we do see other things on the market, like obviously you've got your visual aids as well, so VADs. So some VADs can be as simple as just something like a sounder base with an integrated vid. You've also got that.
Well, you know what I just thought of? What if you were living in a small house, which you can get away with putting echo in, but what if it had a load of residents that were like either hearing impaired or something? Something that would. Because echo won't really do the job, would it? But a VAD probably would. But that can
So
only run on CSAC active, can't it?
that's why I'd say we've got
Or
something from
is it
ACO. We've got something from ACO now, which is a visual alarm device and a vibrating pillar pad integrated
didn't
in.
CSAC just doing that sort of thing?
Yeah, CTEC do a vibrating pillar pad as well. But
Because sounds like a really good idea.
so do ACO. Yeah, it is a really good idea, and I mean I think even if you're not hearing impaired or visually impaired, I'd say realistically, it's a good option for residential, because it gives you that little gentle nudge which tells you, oi, oi, wake up, something's going on. And it is good for the residents to really see, and for the residents to not just know that they're in safe hands, but to also have like that extra backup bit of kind of reassurance.
Didn't your acres once get outsmarted by your main firearm system?
Yeah, they did.
Did they even activate at all, or did it take 5 minutes or 5 seconds even?
They didn't. It took them 10 minutes after the actual main fire alarm system in the house activated to tell me that there was smoke. And that is the terrifying reality of it. That ionization detectors being fitted in these properties when in areas that shouldn't have an ionization detector
yeah,
put people at risk. So, I mean, if we
you are
look,
plotting to replace that dead ionization sector up here with CSEX Hush Active eventually. Hence, I've got the kit, which I still haven't uploaded that video that I did all the way back in 2021 of it.
So if we have a look at the this here, we can see we've got the main hush controller there, the flat interface. That's a sounder bad base there. So we can set those to a few tones. So we could have those on whatever tone really suits the application. And then we've got these here, which do look like CTEC detectors, but they are actually CTEC sounder beacons. So these are sounder.
You're pointing at nothing.
These are probably like, to say the least, they're pretty much a covert version of a sounder. So, if you don't want a detector on a sounder base, you could, but you also don't need a detector in that area. You could slap one of these things in on the ceiling, and that's your ceiling-mounted sounders. So these are kind of like your ceiling mount design of sounders, and the LEDs on the side are just for polling, I believe. But again, I mean, even looking back to a VAC alert, we can see that's got a vibrating pillow pad which can be connected with it. So if the person in that flat, when the fire service are evacuating, it could have a VAD on the sounders and they can have a pillow pad, all depending on their needs. I mean, in my opinion, all of the apartments should be fitted with a socket for the pillow pad and
if all your apartments should be optional for that sort of thing, then yeah, that would work.
They should be provided with it.
Yeah, the socket at least.
Yeah, and the socket's there, and then obviously they can have a pillow pad that if they don't want to use it, they can. They don't have to use it, but
yeah,
realistically, I would say use it because it saves lives. It saves lives, and if we look at Grenfell, that's just where all of this kit could have prevented a lot of what happened.
I guess ACO being out of existence would have also made this get installed and prevented it as well.
Well, I mean, again, ACO's got its places, and I install ACO a lot.
If we had grade C like 20 years ago, why else wouldn't have this crap stuff?
I mean, I don't think realistically it's worth it in all premises, but in some it is, and that's what I'm kind of getting at here. It's not for all applications, but it is for some applications. And
I think a house with an interconnected garage is probably more appropriate for a hush active system.
Even then, ACO Radio Link or ACO, even just an ACO interlinked system, that's fine and dandy enough for that. And I mean, obviously, you've got the Radio Link add-on for the audio-visual bit. So if
I have something like that in my house, there's no way am I using ACO equipment again.
Well, I mean, it's all. I mean, that's your preference, but in the way of the industry, it's a
Yeah, but I'm
strong,
being forced to stick with ACO
a
entirely. I'm
strong.
being told, I don't know whether this is a lie, but there was one side it may be illegal to put something like CTEC Hush Active in your house instead of ACO.
No, that's
Well,
not.
what about say a two-zone CFP or something and same layout as a Hush Active system?
Yeah, you can do that. I mean, if I really wanted to, I could fit something like EMS Smart Cell, Argus Vega, they're wireless.
Rituals would cover that as well. Since obviously, if they can handle a shopping centre, they can easily handle a house easy, couldn't they?
Yeah, it's realistically
What kind of bullshit have I been told all this time in order to go against ACO?
I mean, ACO, it's great kit. I mean, they're constantly innovating as we speak. There's some really interesting innovations they've come out with
They're
over the
innovating
years.
too much, really. The only thing they need to do is just do something more similar to Hush Active. I mean, what they could do is just do an optional separate smoke detector rather than one with a sounder.
I mean,
And
as I've said, it's not. I feel like I'm a broken record here repeating this. It's not really for all applications. And I mean, I say ACO does a fabulous job. It's saved multiple lives. And I mean,
in
there's been.
comparison to Fire Ranger, I suppose.
I mean, we've got. I mean, all these companies on the market. There's.
Yeah, I heard more recently Fire Ranger are finally going to be eliminated.
I've not heard that.
Yeah, well, my experience with it is obviously what do you get only like 3 years out of a lithium battery 10-year life detector?
Yeah, there has been. I mean, I don't
But they're
really.
scams, don't you get it? They're complete
I,
scams. They're 100% planned obsessions when they're easily going to be outlived. Well, a lot
well,
of stuff actually.
even then, I mean, it's requirements that you have to change the detectors after 10 years anyway. So
Well, hang on then. What is the case for changing a Series 65? I mean,
yeah,
how long can you leave that thing up and
any
running for?
any system, 10 years lifespan of the lifespan of detectors. So Hush Active, as you mentioned, after 10 years, you have to swap them detectors out, some new ones, and it would all just be under the routine maintenance of the system. Once the detectors reach a certain age, that's when it's time to swap them out because at that point the sensors will have degraded, the circuitry will have degraded a bit, and they might not be up to the snuff. Yeah, we can see, for example, it's not really true. We've seen systems like old Nitan systems still using something like 2kc detectors, which are still kicking around just
Yeah,
fine, but it's just the
well, thank
requirement.
goodness some places still have systems like that for me to picture, but I don't know.
It's just the requirements. But
Yeah, but I think we
so
should really focus on the places that don't have a firearm system instead of places that already have one that's already working better than nothing at all, right?
it's better than nothing, but obviously we all in the industry we've got multiple choices, and we choose our
I
equipment
think you have
based
too
on.
many choices, really. It's like a
Well,
it's
no,
like
I
a
mean
railway
we
being
we choose
privatised.
our equipment based on the application. So if we go out to a site and it's it's just a small housing estate that we've got to fit stuff on that housing estate, we'd just go out to the wholesalers, buy ourselves some Eco stuff, and then fit those in play, and that's fine. And then if we come across something that's a bit more like a HMO building, which is a house converted to HMO, that's when I'd put in something like a Hush Active, because at that point, that
Where's HMO again?
a house of multiple occupancy. So that's like say for instance it's like instead of having flats, you would have different people living pretty much in the same house. And they'd have their own
Maybe
room.
if it's the same size as as that first option set, then shouldn't that have hush active as well?
Well, no, I'd say in just a residential place where you've just got one kind of family or tenant living there.
Yeah, but then
That's
it'd be
when
like the next year would be changing that regulation to that house, and then you'd have to
that,
change the system out, wouldn't you?
that's when I'd
That's why it
say
doesn't work.
that's when I'd say ACO's really the best option for that. But HMOs, I'd say
It
you
isn't the
want
best option for anywhere, really. It's not good
it
enough.
is for houses. It is one of the best options to do, really. But
Yeah, well, I'm
for
never using it myself, and no one's going to
that's
make
your
me
preference.
anymore.
That's your preference. But for me,
Yeah, well, people are
it's
forcing me to get rid of
price
this preference.
price wise.
Isn't it more expensive than Hush Active for some reason? I don't know
No,
why.
no, it's not. It's really not. Hush Active is a bit more expensive.
You know, I recall only paying, I don't know, less than £200.
It's about 200 quid for a Hush Active kit, but you've also got different levels of protection as well. So one thing I haven't really talked about because it doesn't really, I didn't really, I was going to do that for another episode, which I am going to be talking about in another stream, is going to be the levels of protection. So I'll tease into it a bit here and just give a very brief explanation. We've got LD1, LD2, and LD3. So LD1 would be maximum protection. So that would be pretty much detectors in every room, pretty much, besides like
Yeah, I
bathrooms.
don't know how necessary that would be, to be honest.
And then you've
So
got something like LD2, which would just be like your loft, garage, kitchen, hallway, and kind of like that. And then you've got LD3, which would be like your minimum detection, which would just be like your loft and your landing and your hallway. So that's a very simple way to put it. But
what I plotted for this house was, a single heat sector in the garage, heat sector in the kitchen, sounder downstairs, and a single optical smoke sector upstairs.
okay, so that would be an LD3 system. That would be an LD3, so that would be minimum protection, pretty much.
Minimum.
What
we can conduct that with Hush Active though, not AK.
Oh no, Hush Active would have the LD kind of thing. So what I would change with that, what you said there, would be adding in. I'd say what you would want to add there would be put a smoke detector in the loft void.
Well, I could do that as well.
And realistically, I would also put
what kind of smoke detector? Optical or ionisation or heat?
multi. Just put a multi up there.
Sure, okay. That works.
I'd say realistically, we'd use multi-sensors really in mostly. I'd use multi-sensors in all applications. So I personally would use the CTEC Active, but we might have somebody who would use.
I think I'll stick with Series 65s or something like that.
I would go with Orbis. In all fairness, I would go with Orbis.
Aren't they made by Clanson though? It's
Um,
the same basis as solar cylinders.
Orbis is Apollo. Orbis is Apollo, but obviously they're under the Halma group, so there's a lot of overlap with quite a few of those. So in that regard, now I think I'm going to say now the things to take away from this episode really, as the main points would be the evac alerts with the new with the new BS8629 standards. I'd say take away some of that with some of the evac alert equipment and what we mentioned there. And then BS5839 Part 6 with the grade C, so with the Hush system. And then also from what we were just saying a minute ago, with just some of the stuff alongside of kind of the more lower end of the residential market, so grade D systems.
Yeah, can we not recommend ACO in these circumstances in which CTEC Hush Active can be used within the same sort of premises in terms of simplicity?
I would more recommend ACO for something like a domestic property, like is more a house, so something like just a small
Yeah, well, you know, if I owned a house with already ACO fitted, I'd just change that straight away.
Obviously, that's your views, but from an installer standpoint,
Would it be better if it just came with the as standards, really?
So, from an installer standpoint, we would use realistically ACO or not necessarily always ACO. I mean, I actually, because of the intruder alarm manufacturer I use, which is Orisec, I'm a pro Orisec installer, I actually use Cavius as the company I use because it interlinks in with the intruder alarm panels that we use. So we can link our detectors to the intruder panel, and then we can have off-site monitoring if it is.
Oh, hold on a minute, I just remembered. What about 12-volt systems with 12-volt sectors? Is that
Yes.
about?
So I'm going to be covering that in a few episodes. So that'll give me a chance now to address what's coming up in the future. So we're going to do one more episode. I'm going to try and get another guest on next time for that one, who I think would be best to talk about this. So we're going to do another episode on PAVA systems, mostly functioning, mostly focusing on the voice alarm side of that and some of the requirements around it. And then after that, we're going to be moving on to a very short series on access control. And then after that's going to be, again, some short stuff about CCTV, so some of the requirements we have to follow. And then after that, we're going to be moving into security, which we're going to be showing some stuff regarding security alarm control panel, some of the grading, some of the requirements, and then also surrounding that, we're going to be doing a special demonstration featuring a product by Smokescreen, which will be quite a special demonstration to show. And then we will also feature in within that series some of the stuff about intruder alarm linked in with monitoring centers, and also some of the stuff surrounding like 12-volt smoke detectors on intruder alarm systems. So on that note, we're just coming up on the 1 hour and 13-minute mark now. So on that note, we're going to start to close this off. So some great stuff that we've talked about here, and I think it's definitely some room for a lot of innovation here and improvement within the industry, and I really hope to see the evac alert systems installed.
Yeah, well, we need to improve for the right sort of thing.
What?
Well, we just need to improve for the right sort of thing, really.
Yeah.
You know,
so,
do the right thing.
On that note,
regulations don't work, you
know. Yeah. So on that note, I'm going to close this off now. So I'd say thank you all for tuning in. I hope that we've give some good insight into the Hush system and into the evac alert system, and just some general kind of and just some interesting general chatter around some of the other topics we've covered in this episode. So yeah, so thank you all for tuning in, and hopefully we'll see you all in the next live stream.
Okay.
So see you all soon.
Yeah, see ya.